Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is still Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. This is my post-market wrap-up, and I want you to sit down and relax. I have a lot of stuff to talk about with you, and we, again, need to put it all together. And I want to explain a few things, too. Let's start off with that. Look, I understand that for years, and I mean that, I've been a raging bull in this market. Any one of you that have been following my work literally for years understands Greg Mannarino is a raging bull, but I am not a perma bull. Look, I get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day, and a lot of people referring to me as a perma bull. I am not a perma bull. What I am is an individual who takes in the macro picture, what is going on, and I attempt to, with my data, my research, come up with the most likely situation. Now, for the last several years, well, it's been very, very simple. The market's going higher. I told you record high, record high, record high. Was it going to stop? I've been spot on with this. With regard to cryptos, the same kind of thing. I've explained to you over and over again for years about Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrencies. I've been explaining to bet against the debt, become your own central bank. I've explained to you how you must be hedged around here. You have to, look, I've also explained to all of you for years that the situation we are in is not sustainable. I know that it's not sustainable. What you and I are doing here is taking advantage of the current situation, the market we have at the moment, but at the same time, we have to always be vigilant and looking out for little signs, little signals that maybe things are about to turn. No, I'm not saying that's going to happen right now, but some interesting stuff is going on right now. We're going to talk more about that. So I just want to dispel any kind of like rumors or myths out here that Greg Mannarino is some kind of a perma bull. I am not a perma bull. If I see certain dynamics in this market start to change, trust me on this. I'm going to be the first guy out here to explain to all of you, hey, you know what? It is not time to buy the dip. We need to get defensive. We need to start maybe closing long positions in this market. But to me, as I've explained to you for a very, very long period of time, having yourself spread out in different asset classes really, well, number one, it'll help you sleep at night. You don't have to worry about when the big one is going to hit. No, we have a huge, huge friend on our side. I'm not talking about Greg Mannarino, although I am, of course, your friend. But I created that MMRI, for which the MMRI, as most of you know that are following it, is on my website, traderschoice.net. It's kind of a lousy setup. You got to click on a link and it takes you to the MMRI. I'm going to be doing away with that. It's going to be right on my website in real time. Tomorrow or the next day, check it, okay? The MMRI is quite an indicator with regard to market risk. Today, the MMRI jumped over 90. It's about 91.6, 91.7 last time I looked. What else happened today? Okay. The dollar. I mean, you want to talk about a move higher today? Yes, the relative strength of the dollar, or the Dixie, made a very big move higher. 10-year yield came up, MMRI higher. Risk is rising. Here's the reason why, okay? And if you were following, I don't know, any of the mainstream news outlets, you already know what I'm probably going to say here. All day, you're watching, I was following Bloomberg, CNBC all day, and they're like, again, going back to the economic data that we got earlier today with inflation surging at its fastest pace ever in history. I've explained this to you for a very, very long time. No one was expecting this. Apparently the economists polled, they're all rocket scientists, They're completely shocked as to this surge in inflation, a 31-year high with regard to consumer prices, consumer debt surging. I mean, it's a very, very bad setup here. Okay, and I am well aware of that. This is not sustainable, this environment. Now, the reason why today, if you look at what happened to the stock market, number one, did you see crude oil? Crude oil got hit today, like 3%, over 3%. You know how this works, crude oil being the lifeblood of the market. Well, if crude takes a big hit like that, you would expect to see the stock market sell off. Okay, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer. If you're watching crude oil and you understand how it works, you got, again, the entire energy sector, the financial sector, depending on crude oil being high. When you see crude take a hit, you're going to expect to see the stock market take a hit. That's the way it is. But what else happened? Again, I already told you. Markedly stronger relative value of the dollar, 10-year yield higher, MMRI higher. What you and I are doing, which most people are not doing, is we're watching the debt market. Okay, the MMRI measures risk in the market based on what's happening in the debt market and the relative dollar strength, the dollar being a unit of debt. Okay, basically it's a measure of these things divided by an equation. Okay, it's pretty simple. Now, what we understand, again, most people are looking at the stock market. They look at the stock market, and they're trying to gain information from the stock market, which itself is a derivative. The stock market in aggregate really is a derivative as to what is happening in the debt market. You all know that if you've been following this blog, henceforth why the MMRI is based on debt. Okay, we got that. So if we know for a fact that the debt is, again, what is it? It's the Frankenstein monster of all time. Okay, it's a hyper bubble and is being deliberately fueled by a runaway central bank. And I'm talking about, the Federal Reserve is, again, the main culprit here. But these are central banks around the world who continue to inflate some more. And they're doing this by design. Again, nobody's that stupid to think that this is, just, by chance. Again, so you're going back to the mainstream channels today, and they're all concerned about how this surging record surge of inflation may cause the Federal Reserve to taper, which they apparently just announced a taper. They tapered nothing. You know that. All the Fed did was lower their minimum targets per month, asset purchases. So the talk on the mainstream is, okay, well, this surging inflation is logically going to force the Fed to taper harder. Oh, you mean they're going to lower their targets again? And also, raise rates moving forward. Understand the goal here of the Fed and other central banks. What are they doing? They want to buy assets with their product that they create magically out of thin air. Okay, they have no intention whatsoever to raise rates aggressively. And this taper, which is nonsense, there was no taper. You all know that. All they did was lower their targets. So all the talk today on the mainstream is about, the Federal Reserve may be forced to taper harder. The Federal Reserve may be forced to raise rates aggressively. Nonsense. It's fake. It's propaganda. It's look here, don't look here. You want to talk about look here and don't look there? How about our current brain dead president? Okay, I call him Bidenstein. Frankenstein. Yeah. What is he doing today? He's all up in arms today. Our imbecile in chief. Okay, who's just a puppet. We all understand that they're all puppets. Okay, so I'm not just putting him down. I'm putting them all down. Okay, going back a long while. So he is sitting there using a clear distraction mechanism. He's talking about skyrocketing energy prices today. We got to do something about skyrocketing energy prices. He will not point his decrepit finger at the culprit here. And the culprit is the Federal Reserve, who keeps inflating and inflating and inflating. You see, you're not allowed to know that. So what do? They parade out some kind of a zombie-like creature, okay? I'm referring to Frankenstein Biden, okay? And he's got to get out here, because he has worshipers too. Every president has worshipers. You have to understand that. Trump had a whole bunch of worshipers. Obama had a whole bunch of worshipers. This guy, he has his worshipers too. Yes, he does. Believe it or not. I know it's astounding, but it's the truth. And he's getting these people that worship him, to look at, it's skyrocketing energy prices. But why are we seeing this? It's the Fed, who's created trillions upon trillions upon trillions upon quadrillions of dollars out of thin air all around the world, funneling dollars everywhere. Now these dollars are coming home to roost. But he can't let you know that. He has to distract the people that care about him the most, our current brain-dead president. Look over here. Look over there, everyone. Oh, it's energy. I got to do something about energy prices. Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll go bomb a refinery if, in fact, crude oil prices fall because, we won't let that happen, so you're not allowed to know that. We had a big hit today in crude oil, but I can promise you, if crude were to fall substantially, if it got into the 70s or the 60s, you're going to hear about terrorist attacks, refinery fires, bombings, airstrikes, U.S. airstrikes, of course. But you're not supposed to know that. You're supposed to think that everything is just happening because it's happening. No, it's just all a game. All right. So anyway, yes, stock market fell today. Not too much considering what happened to crude oil. Surging inflation is raising the specter if the Fed is actually going to do a taper, which they did nothing, or if they're going to raise rates more aggressively. I'm here to tell you that the Fed is going to continue to buy assets like we've never seen before. And that's going to continue to inflate the debt bubble, stock market bubble, and all of this is going to melt down. Let me put this a little bit more clearly to you. We're going to have a nuclear meltdown in the debt market. A nuclear meltdown in the debt market at one point. Again, it's being fueled on purpose. Inflate this bubble to heights that I don't even think we've even seen yet. Okay. That is, again, propped up this stock market, which is another Frankenstein monster bubble. By design. And all this is simply going to reverse at one particular time, and risk on assets, again, like the stock market, like equities, stocks, okay? They are going to crater on a magnificent scale, and cash is going to move from one set of assets into another. That's it. This is the same thing I've explained to all of you since time in Freak Show Memorial. That's how it's going to work. This is why you got to stay hedged, people. So Greg Mannarino, going back to what I said earlier, is not a permabull. I just look at the market I have in front of me and I say, okay, these are the most likely outcomes. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right all the time, but I have been right for freaking years. And I'm telling you, what we're anticipating is, again, a nuclear freaking meltdown in the debt market. And it's going to change the landscape of the earth. The whole financial world is going to change. You're going to see people running around in the streets not knowing what happened to them, like they always do. People always get, smacked upside their head, and they have no idea what happened to them, and they walk around through time and space dumbfounded, like they always do after every kind of a market meltdown, because, everyone's telling them everything's great. Wait a minute. You mean to tell me the economy really wasn't so good? It's astonishing to me. Anyway, I wrote down, look at this. I got pages here of stuff. I don't know if I'm going to get to cover it all here, people. Let me just see what's really important. Let me pick a few things out. I already told you about the bond market, people. It's a freaking time bomb. It's going to melt down. I mean, it's going to have a nuclear meltdown at one point, so just be ready for it. I told you about the brain-dead president. What else would you expect? Look, presidents are puppets. They're told what to say. They read a script. Each one of them has their own persona. The last guy was, what he was. I'm talking about Trump. The guy before him was the suave dude. This guy is like Frankenstein. They each have their own little personality. People worship them. And that's just the way it is. But you and me, see, we're not part of that. We understand it's all dog shit. Okay? And it's the banks that run the entire show. You know what I mean? I don't even want to talk about any of this. I covered a lot today, and this video is getting kind of long. So I took all my notes for nothing. That's okay. I covered all the strong points here, things that you need to be aware of. And I hope I cleared up, look, I'm not a permabull. I am just a guy who takes in the market and looks at the most likely outcomes. And people, it's very hard to deny, really, that I have not kept all of you on the right side of this market for a very, very long time. And when this thing rolls over, I'm not going to become a perma bear either, because we're going to see, look, when we get this nuclear meltdown in the debt market, and it's going to be a nuclear meltdown in the debt market, we're going to see stocks crater like you can't even imagine. And the beauty of this is the stock market is going to overcorrect by a large margin. What does that mean? The stock market falls to whatever the bottom may actually be. It's going to be an overcorrection, and there's going to be deals to be made that you can't even imagine at that particular time, because these companies right now, they have value. Oh, that's one other thing I wanted to touch on with regard to economic news. Let me just say this here. So we're getting, again, you knew this was going to happen because I told you at the onset, more corporations who are now reaping windfall profits. We have virtually record highs in the market over and over again. Now, these companies are complaining. They're complaining that they're going to need to pass on more cost to the consumer because their shipping costs have gone through the roof, okay? And because their cost of raw materials continues to rise. But at the same time, these companies have, windfall profits. They got, their shareholders are all jumping for joy. And the CEOs and all the bigwigs are all have, multi-million dollar freaking paychecks. You kidding me? But no. It's not enough. You see, you have to make up the difference. And this deal with inflation that we're seeing right now today, surging at its fastest pace in history, no surprise to you. Well, we haven't seen anything yet. What, you think this is just going to stop? It's just miraculously going to end? It's really transitory? No. And the Fed will never be held to account. Of course, you're going to get the brain dead president. Look over here. It's energy. It's energy. Oh, we're going to do something about energy. How about this, Mr. President? Okay? Whatever you are, you thing. How about you do something about the Federal Reserve? Oh, you can't do that. I forgot. No, you work for them like every single little puppet before you. I'm out of here. Love you a lot. Long video. Please share this video. Get it out there. I'm counting on you. And look for the MMRI real time right on my website, traderschoice.net. That's where you're going to find it over the next couple of days. As a matter of fact, it's the only place you're going to find it. So follow the MMRI. I'm telling you, it is our best friend to gauge market risk. Okay? I think I'm done. See you in the morning.